All right, my name is Alejandro Aguilar, and in this tutorial, I just want to show you how to make a morph ball. I'm going to try to keep this tutorial pretty straightforward. I'll give you information and try to keep it brief, but I'll try to make sure that it's interesting and overall just you learn how to, do this in Blender. So to begin, I just want to show you some examples I made. This is all modeled rendered, and it's not really textured, it's just materials. But yeah, all in Blender, so you can make some nice little beauty shots of your stuff if you want. And over here, if you can see where my mouse is, I have different examples. So I just did some iterations. They're not perfect, but they get the job done. And then I also did the one of Metroid Dread. So there's still some things missing, but I think I mostly hit most of the marks that I was going for with this one. So let me show you how we can make one from scratch. I'm just going to go over here and make a general new file. Don't need to save it. All right, so here we are. I'm just going to first hide some things that we don't need to see because it's not like they really matter. So let's start with just deleting this box. I'm going to come over to Object, delete. I'll try not to use hotkeys as much as I can, just so that you can tell where things are and you're not going to be confused about what I use because I use plenty of hotkeys. I mean, a lot of them just, yeah. As you can see, I'm just mashing buttons, but a lot of them are set to hotkeys with whether I have something selected or I don't. So let's just start with a sphere. So I'm going to come over to Add, Mesh, UV Sphere, and there we go. Obviously, I was mashing buttons, but it's okay. It's just Alt Z and Shift C. But we can talk about that later. So with this sphere that I have, I can turn it around. And one way to do that is coming over here. If I press T, I bring up this little, I guess, GUI, not a GUI, but it's just something I can use to rotate and stuff. So what we want to do is get these points right here to face the yellow line. This is the y-axis. So just as long as they're flat. If you're having a tough time trying to get them to like stay perfectly in center, if you hold control, it'll snap. So you just follow the snapping lines, and there you go. It's fine if the dot right there isn't lined up, but the point is that we get it facing parallel. All right, so now that we have that, what we can do is select it. Oh, it is a little off. Okay, just gonna grab it one more time. Wow, I really messed it up, didn't I? Okay, if not, don't worry, Control Z is your friend. So we'll do it again. There we go. Perfect. Don't worry if you make mess ups like I did. That's the whole point of this. It's not really you messing up, it's you're going to learn. So don't worry about it. All right, so with this selected, I'm going to click up here in object mode. I'm going to go to edit mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select half the side and I'm going to delete it because what we're going to do is use a modifier. So let's come over here and go to box select, and I'm going to choose out of these three little buttons up here, I'm going to choose this one that says face select. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to make sure I have all of one half selected. If you want to select more, just hold shift and you'll keep the ones you already selected, but you'll be grabbing more. So there we go, looks good. I'm going to come over to face, no, not face, mesh, delete, faces, and there we go. So why do we do this? Well, we're going to start adding some modifiers to it. So let's back out to object mode. Sometimes you can add modifiers in object mode and edit mode, but sometimes you can't, and I'd rather just show you a very basic version of it. So here's the modifier tab. It's this little wrench, and you just have this blank thing right here with add modifier. Come over here, and you'll see a bunch that, oh my god, they do so much, and it'll make literally all your tasks way easier. But for now, let's just work with mirror. So I'm going to come over here to mirror in the generate column. Mirror. So as you can see, didn't do anything. But that's because we haven't actually chosen which axis it's mirroring on. Now, I don't know, and if you do, that's great. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start randomly pressing buttons, and as you can see, it mirrors on the z-axis. So great, got that done with. So now anytime I come in and I try to edit something, say like right here, if I come over here and grab the move tool, see, it gets mirrored exactly. So now we do half the work. I could do, I guess, a way to mirror it even further, but that's kind of complicated, and I'd rather just show you a easier way to do it. Not an easier way, but just more simpler way. The you can go down a really bottomless rabbit hole with modifiers, and it can get confusing if you don't know what you're doing. So, uh, to start with, what we're doing now is we're going to start, how do you say, giving this a spin? I'll explain it right now. So, what we're going to do is we're going to select all the faces except for the innermost ring. So, to select a ring, you can hold Alt and click. And what you want to do is just make sure you click on the, I guess, edge of a face. So if I click over here, it's going to select a loop, I guess. It's not really a ring, it's a loop. But it's going to select that loop because my cursor was closer to the edge going this way. If I click an edge up here, down here, it's going to, I guess Blender's going to say, okay, you want to loop this way. So that's what we want. So I'm just going to do that. And then to continue doing more, hold Shift and Alt and just keep clicking. And then just Shift, drag, select, and there you go. So now we have all but the innermost selected. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to rotate. And you can rotate it either way. It doesn't really matter. Just rotate that. And then as we go, we're going to just deselect one ring at a time. So, oh, whoops, wrong one. So Shift Alt deselects that one that we already selected. And then we're just going to do it again, holding Control. There we go. Just doing it again. There we go. And just keep doing this until you reach, I want to say, this is fine. Let's just leave it there. So then what we're going to do, actually, press Control Z to get back to your selection. We're going to go the opposite way now. So I'm going to deselect this area, and then I'm going to go the opposite way for two of them. So there you go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select two loops going from the outside to the inner circle. So let me just get a good idea of this. I want to get as close to three equal regions as possible. Okay, so loop down here with two of them, and then let's say right here, loop right here, and then loop right here. If it looks a little off, just deselect the loop by holding Shift Alt and then going to another thing. If you have a hard time kind of seeing how your loops look, you can come over here to this gizmo and it rotates your view, but if you click on one of the letters, it snaps. So now you have a clear view of what it is you're doing. This looks all right. I think we have an extra one over here, but that's fine. I mean, no one's really ever going to tell when you finish this thing. So we'll select this right here, and then we'll select the outer one as well. So now what we're going to do is add, I guess, some bevel to this, if you want to say that. But before we do that, let's make sure to loop select this inner circle right here, outer circle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to press face, inset faces. So now what this is going to do is it's going to give us a border. So this border is going to be kind of like our thickness of the metal. So that way it's not just like a flimsy thin little piece. We're going to have a nice wedge to it. So just dragging the mouse gives you uh, your wedge. That's what I call it. But if you hold control, you get this, and that's the inset part of the face. So you can kind of choose how deep you want the inset to go. So I'm going to keep it, say, around here, and I'll push it back inside a little bit more. Make it a little deeper. Okay, that looks pretty good. So now that we have that, we obviously have some work we need to do, but that's okay. This is all kind of part of the process, I guess. So what we're going to do now is we're going to grab this right here, loop it, and then delete it because we don't really need it and it's just kind of getting in our way. If you see this a gap, don't worry. There's going to be a fix to this in a few minutes. So now that we're done with that, we can actually, yeah, we can start doing the uh, bevel of this. So to do that, I'm just going to come over here to edge select, and I'm going to start selecting all of these edges. So this may take a while, but I guess a faster way to do this is, again, doing Shift Alt and doing loop selections. So I'm just selecting anything that can loop here, and then the hard edges I know I want beveled. I want this one beveled, I want this one beveled, so on and so on. So yeah, just keep selecting and don't worry about, making it perfect. It's not about being perfect. There is plenty of art pieces out there, or not art pieces, but 3D art that is just, if you were to see what the actual file looks like, you would be very surprised that that passed as a finished piece of work. And that's the beauty of it, really. I mean, you can really have a lot of freedom with your art as long as you know what you're doing and whoever's viewing it doesn't know. They don't need to know everything you do. So if you got a trick up your sleeve, then just put it in there and you'll be fine. All right, so it looks good. And even if we miss something, we can fix it later. So with that selected, I'm going to come over to edges. I'm going to go down to this one called Edge Bevel Weight. So what this will do, if I drag left or right, it'll turn the edges blue. So if you want to get more context, down here is a little like box. It just tells you the influence of the edge bevel weight. So we had it at well, not -1. It was at 0, but we moved it to 1 so that any edge that we have selected has a weight of 1. A little complicated, but we don't need to get too complicated. All we need to know is that it's blue. So we can come over. I think we can. I'll see if this works. I keep forgetting. Come to bevel. Cool. Yeah, there we go. So we added a bevel modifier to our object. So now anything currently at a 30-degree angle is going to be beveled, but we don't want that. So let's just close that mirror box right now. So we just focus on the bevel. So I have it at edges, the offset. Yeah, keep it offset. The amount We can keep that there for now, and we can keep the segment stolen as well. So what we want to change is this part, the limit method. So instead of angle, we're going to choose weight, which is the edge bevel weight. So if I were to turn this off, as you can see, anything that has a weight to it is going to get a bevel. So what we need to do now, though, is we need to kind of polish it because this looks a little gross. So I'm just gonna drag it that way, and then just drag it left or right. And if you're getting a hard time kind of getting that look, just come to the shift button and just hold it, and then drag select it. So now you have a nice, more precise bevel. It's just not as, I guess, as influenced as just not hitting shift. So about there's good. And then if I want to come out of edit mode, there you go. You got some nice bevels there. It's pretty good. It is pretty good. Huh. So now that we have all that selected, or not selected, all that done, I'm going to come over to object mode, go to edit mode, I'm going to select faces, and I'm just going to start selecting all of these faces that we don't need anymore. And I'll show you why right now. Okay, so now we have all these pieces selected. The reason why we're deleting these is because we get ugly stuff like this right here. I'm sorry to zoom in so much, but yeah, this we don't want. Or that. That's going to be a pain in the butt later on. So instead of doing that, I'm just going to delete them all. Come over to Mesh, Delete, Faces. There you go. Now if you didn't know any better, you'd have some nice pieces right here. It looks pretty good. I'm going to close this box right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add another sphere. This is how you say, just a kind of little cheat. That way you don't have to model all the thing by itself. So what I did here is just Control Z, and I changed, I think it's Control Y to redo. I just have Control Shift Z. So, but just I'll do it again. Add mesh UV sphere, and then we did the rotating with the rotate tool, but you can also come over here into this add UV sphere into this box. You can just use this, and you can also hold Control and just snap it. So there you go. But it's a little too big, and we kind of need it to be smaller. So I'm going to come over to Scale. I'm just going to grab the outer ring. Let's hold Shift. There you go. All right. It's practically done, at least with the modeling. So now what we can do, we can check out the hard surface modifier, or subdivision surface modifier. So with that, what we can do is come over to, well, we can do it on both. Come to the add modifier, subdivision surface, and as you can see, we're adding a subdivision to this. So right here, Kalamaklugu and simple, and it doesn't really matter, I don't pay attention to those. But um, with the viewport, just levels viewport from 1, set it to something like 3. If it looks a little odd, just come over here, and then I believe should be, no, it's not here. No, it is here. I honestly have forgotten. I've gotten so used to just right-clicking. All right, whatever. I'm just gonna right-click. So shade smooth, and then it smoothed my pieces for me. So from there, we can come to this one and do the same thing. Subdivision surface, level 3, smooth that as well. But you can tell we have this weird little thing going on here. So what we need to do is we need to add another bevel. And to do that, I'm just going to come over here, and there's this little arrow right here on on all of them. But for the bevel one, I'm going to come over here, duplicate. So now we duplicated the same bevel we just added. Now, it looks obviously a little weird. Nothing really changed except it kind of got a little uglier. But we'll fix that right now. So I'm going to come up here to these four buttons, and I'm just going to click on this one called Viewport Viz. There you go. So now it's turned off. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn on one at a time my my modifiers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to, is this on? No, it's on. Yeah, it's off. I'm going to select this one right here, and I'm going to apply it. So you might be wondering, well, why apply it? Well, it's because we need another bevel, but this can't work without the other one being applied. So to get a better idea of what we're doing, do wireframe. Okay, so you can see the edges, all of them being made. So with this one selected, if you remember, we had this selected as bevel weight. So you know what? I'm really complicating it for you. Come back here. Oh, sorry. I have to turn off a wireframe from object mode. Strangely enough, I believe edit mode and object mode have their own wireframe. So what happened? It obviously changed, but let me just explain it to you. So let me come back. I Control Z it a few times, and we're back to the second bevel that we have. So I'm going to come over here to the metal pieces, go into edit mode, and so as you can tell, it's still there. And it's still creating those bevels. So I'm going to apply this one. Oh, I have to go into edit. I have to go into object mode to apply it. Okay, apply. There you go. Thank you. And then I have to come back to edit mode. Man, what is with me today? Okay, there we go. So it basically applied the bevel that we were working on. So now that we have that selected, I can come over here, subdivision, and do that. So this is, again, the same thing that we had a problem with. We have this weird looking, I don't know what you want to call that. The way to fix that is just by coming over here, go into your edge select mode, and just select these, and then come over to edge bevel weight. And so yeah, that didn't work. So there's a good reason why. It's because this isn't selected. Oh man. So now that we have that there, the problem we're facing now is that these 2 points right here are trying to reach this point. To fix this, what we need to do is kind of do our own modeling within Blender. So now we're not going to be using modifiers. We're gonna get our hands a little dirty, but that's okay. It's part of the process. Trust me, I've worked on models plenty of times where I find out I messed up on one little section and then I have to kind of step back a bit. So to do this work, I could just do this, right? And I can come over here, connect these and fix them. Or be a little lazy today. And I kind of am feeling a little lazy. Just going to select these right here. They're selected. And then again, just edge, bevel weight. There you go. So when I turn this on again and I come over to object mode, yep, there you go. Nice and clean, nice and sharp. And when you zoom out, you get a nice looking plate right there. So now the thing we need to fix is this right here. Select the pieces, edit, and yep, just the same thing that we were doing. don't have to do like any work. Just let Blender do it all for you. That's what I love about this thing. All right, so now with these selected, no, not doing that. Sorry, it's force of habit. Come over here to edge, bevel weight, and just drag that sucker across. Come over here to these sides. If that looks odd, it's probably because it is, but I wouldn't worry about it. Okay. Okay, that looks good. So, again, edge, bevel weight. So you can't see what's going on, but once I'm done dragging the mouse to the right, yeah, there you go. Then just come over to object, and there you go. Nothing but clean lines. And it looks pretty good because, I mean, let's talk realistically. You're never going to see it all the way up here. You're never going to look all the way there. At best, I mean, even in a video game, at best, you'd probably see it from over here. You can't tell that detail. And you couldn't even tell that detail, like, from here. So that's fine. So, we're not going to worry about it. So, what we can do now is we can start texturing this thing. So, I'm just going to pause real quick. Just going to take a quick break, but I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So, with where we left off, we already modeled everything and it's ready to be textured. Not really textured. We're not really actually going to unwrap this and texture it and all that fancy schmancy whatever. I'm going to just start applying some materials to this thing. So, to begin, we can start texturing or adding material to the metal. So I'm going to select the metal, and on this area of little tabs, I'm going to come down here to material properties. So in here, there's nothing. It looks kind of empty. It's because it is. But just hit this new button, and now we have a new material. I'm just going to name this metal. Just double click it, and there you go, metal. So you can't really tell what's going on, and that's okay because you just need to come up here, see where this is, and you can either click viewport shading or you can click, they're both viewport shading. Oh, well, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's come over here to the metal, and let's just, I don't know, let's just select a deep, not deep red. Yeah, that's fine. And then this is going to be metallic. So right here where the metallic is, I will just slide it to 1. There you go. You made a metal. Um, but we can tweak it a little bit because right now we have is this part called roughness. If we slide it all the way to 0, it looks like glass. Slide it to 1, it looks like rubber. It's not, but I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking with that one. So, looks pretty good. In my opinion, you don't have to change the metalness if you don't want to. I just like bringing it down a few notches. Let's say to zero point 0.8. And for me, it's just when I think of Samus's armor, it's metal, yeah, but in a video game, having something like this, that's I think too dark for me. At least the metal part down here for a game like Metroid or whatever. So I just like adding a little bit less metalness to it, so it's not so dark. That's just me. If you want to put it to 1, go ahead. I'm not I'm not here to tell you how to do everything. I'm just trying to show you what I know. So, with that out of the way, we really don't need to change anything else here. We're pretty much done with that. And so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come over here to the sphere. So I think if you noticed earlier when I was switching between the viewport shadings, that right there is pretty ugly to see. And if you were to see that in a video game, you'd probably step back and be like, what the heck? So I'm just gonna come back here and now you can't see it. But more importantly, the material that we're gonna add won't let you see it. So I'm gonna make a new material and I'm just gonna call this one glow. Whatever. We can leave that. We can leave that. Uh, I don't remember, but I think we can just turn this to 1. What we're what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the emission. So the emission is basically the, I guess, the light or the glow of the ball. So we're gonna crank this thing. There's fine. We'll start there. So, well, you know what? Screw it. All the way up. So clearly, that is not a glow. It's, I don't know what you would call this, but it's not a glow. Um, you would think adding emission strength would make it brighter. It does, but it's not what we're looking for. So I'm just going to drag this, and it doesn't do anything. It's just turning white. So this isn't the part that makes the ball or the glow of the energy from the morph ball. Uh, I guess shine, look good. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm just going to set this to 2. So I just have this selected here. I'm just going to press 2 on my keyboard, enter, done. So what we're going to do instead is come over here to this little camera thing called render properties. So in render properties, it's a lot of complicated stuff, but I'll keep it brief. Render engine is Eevee, so that's just the rendering engine on default for Blender. You can switch it between Workbench and Cycles, but let's just keep it Eevee. The sampling basically means whenever I move this, it takes 64 samples in our render and 16 samples in the viewport. So basically, it's kind of like an animation where you have 30 frames. You need 30 frames to make a second or something like that. I don't know. I'm really butchering that right now. But basically, anytime you move your mouse in the viewport, it'll take 16 samples so that you have, I guess, like a rendered view. I'm going to crank this up to 64. Viewport denoising doesn't matter. Ambient occlusion, why not? If you can tell the difference, great. If you can't, then whatever. Bloom. So this is the part we needed. There you go. Off, on, and so that's what's going to give us that glow that we were looking for. Now, we can come in here and adjust everything we need if we wanted to, but I won't because it's not really a need for that. I mean, it's just a ball. You're not going to try to take all this time to get the perfect bloom if this works. I'm going to come over to screen space reflections and I'm turn that on just so that it kind of has that glow on, I guess, the neighboring edges of the ball. It just looks nice. That's what I think. So, yeah. And then I'm going to come down all the way to color management. And if you want to get it to look a little bit more contrasty, well, here's your contrast. I'm going to keep it medium high. And so if you didn't notice, it just kind of made your darks darker and your lights lighter. That's what it looked like before. That's what it looks like now. So if you want to change that, go ahead. And that's about it in this rendering part. I'm going to come back here. I think I could push this a little more. So I'm going to change this to a more darker. Is it? Let's find out. Nope. So what we need to do, well, let's move the emission up a little bit. There it is. Okay, found it. So the base color can be set to something like, let's say like around here. And then we can just toggle these right here. H is hue. So if I were to click and drag, you see how it affects the circle up there? Just find what fits best for you. S is saturation. So if you look again at the circle, the further to the right, the more out it goes to the outer edges of the circle. The more to the left, the more inward. So around there is good. Value is going to affect this slider right here. Is it going to be darker? Is it going to be lighter? There's fine. Doesn't have to be perfect. Alpha or A. A is alpha, if you didn't know. Again, if you hold or hover over them, it'll show you the names for them. This, we don't need this. We can ignore it. But I'm just going to kind of fadangle with these until I kind of get what I want. But it's already pretty close. All right. So if you made it this far, you've basically made your own morph ball. It's pretty simple, but with what kind of, I guess, techniques and other things I've been showing you, you can get a pretty good looking ball, and you can kind of work off of this. So, let's say I wanted to come in here, make a duplicate like that, go into edit mode, object, grab this, face, inset, do it again, and then do it again. I can just kind of start making my own stuff. So, I'm not going to try to take up more time, but basically, I can just kind of start working on my own things. There you go. Like nothing. It's that easy. Obviously, I didn't do the other side, but you get the point. You can just start making your own stuff. And like, look, hell, you can even come in here and just go to object mode, grab these faces right here, come over to material editor. If you never knew, I'll show you right now, but in the material editor, you can come over here to this plus and minus. If you press it, you add another material to the object you're on. So from here, I can just press glow, and then with the faces selected, I can just hit assign, and there you go. It's that easy. There you go, a morph ball. How, I mean, it's kind of hard if you don't know how to, but like, you get the point. It's fairly simple, it's fairly easy. But anyways, I'm kind of going on a tangent here. Um, Let me know what you guys thought of this. I really enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. I mean, you honestly have a lot of freedom with doing these morph balls. I mean, you can make them as sharp and realistic as you want, or as stylized as you want. It's kind of like how I showed you in the beginning. Um, and yeah, just let me know. I'd love to see what you guys worked on. If you have the time, just show me on social media. I have Twitter, Instagram, Artful. You can find me at aaguilar_art or aaguilar.art. And yeah, just send it to me or hashtag it with Metroid Morph Ball or Metroid and then Morph Ball. And just let me know. I'd love to see what you guys do. So thank you. I I love working on these, and I love talking about 3D, and if you found this inspirational or just informative, it means a lot to me. And yeah, alright, sounds good. I'll try to work on my tutorials more often, but we'll see where that goes. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Bye.